What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ty behind the camera for yet another full review and test drive video on a 2022 Nissan Frontier in the Pro-4X trim level. And this happens to be my own vehicle. I've leased it for the next 24 months and I put about 600 miles on it so far. And we're gonna take a look at all the features and give it a quick test drive. So throughout this video, we're gonna start off with the features on the exterior. We'll then move under the hood to see what powers this truck. We'll move to the tailgate and open it up, see what the bed looks like. Then we'll move on to the interior, starting with the rear seats and moving forward to the front seats. And finally, at the end of the video, we'll take this truck out for a drive. So we can start off again with the features on the front. Now in the Pro-4X trim level, you actually get full LED headlights. So everything, high, low beams, turn signals, and daytime running lights are all LED. Whereas on the lower trims are actually a halogen unit. And we also have LED powered fog lights, which look very nice when they're illuminated, as you can see. Pretty aggressive front end for the Pro-4X. You get a lot of blacked out elements and this really neatly styled Nissan emblem with the front camera. Taking a look down below, we have some more air intakes towards the bottom. Also some skid plates too that come along with the Pro-4X and the red colored tow hooks. Nice tall hood. One thing that really attracted me to this truck is it's a pretty good size, but it's also pretty narrow, which is pretty awesome. And you also have lots of cladding that goes around the wheel arches, optional mud flaps, and optional steps on the side as well. But onto the wheels, these are Pro-4X and Pro-X specific, so really nice design, sort of a 6-spoke sort of split design, really cool. 17-inch wheels, 265/70 is the tire size, and it's sort of an all-terrain tire, as you can see. And really cool with the Pro-4X trim is you actually have Bilstein shocks, so that's pretty awesome. And I have to say, this truck rides amazingly. Taking a look up at the top, pretty plain roof with the shark fin antenna. And if we take a look at the mirrors, we have blind spot warning, as well as cameras underneath the mirrors for the 360 view. We have smart key for both the front door handles, so you just press to lock and unlock. Fuel filler on the driver's side. And there's a couple different configurations you can get. So you can kind of get like an extended cab with kind of like a half door and a longer bed, or you can get this configuration, which is the full crew cab with the shorter bed, or you can get even a longer bed with the crew cab as well. Pretty much same setup back here with the wheels and tires. Pro-4X sticker and big emblem back here. And same treatment as up front, all LED back here, even for the tail lamps. So again, the brake lights, tail lamps, turn signals, everything is LED back here. Parking sensors on the rear, which is very nice. And then you also have the tow hitch. You could tow around 6,700 pounds. You also have the receivers for the trailer hitch, which is nice. You have, again, the pretty cool Nissan emblem, the tailgate handle, and a little reversing camera as well. And to finish it all off, you have the Pro-4X trim. This car doesn't come with the American flag, but I decided to put it on myself. So, what do you guys think of the styling on this truck? You know, when I was shopping for a car, I kind of needed one quick. And I was going by my local Nissan dealer, and this really caught my eye. I really wasn't even looking for a truck. This just looked really cool, and I decided to pull the trigger on it. What do you guys think about the styling? Let me know in the comments. So, under the hood of all 2022 Nissan Frontiers is a 3.8 8-liter naturally aspirated V6. It's got some pretty good power numbers, 310 horsepower, 281 pound-feet of torque. So this truck gets up and goes all right. It's not half bad at all. And it's also paired up to a 9-speed automatic, which gives you quite a bit better gear ratios, and that just gives it the feeling of it being a little bit of a faster truck. Now, of course, you can get this with 2-wheel drive, as in rear-wheel drive, or 4-wheel drive, and this actually has a high and low range because it's the PRO-4X trim. And it also has a locking differential, which is really cool, and we'll see the switch for that on the inside. But pretty tidy engine bay. You can definitely see most of the engine, which is nice. Pretty small engine cover. The battery's also up here, and a big group of fluids off to this side and the other. So the tailgate is lockable, but you have to stick the key in to lock it, so it doesn't actually lock with the door locks, but at least it is lockable. It's also very easy to open and close since it's dampened. Once we have the tailgate open, you can see there's quite a few features in the rear of this bed. So you actually have LED lighting to either side over there. You have tie downs in all 4 corners, and you can also see these rails here. And they give you these sort of adjusters that you can put in these little slots, and that creates a variable amounts of places for tie downs. One more thing I was kind of shocked to see in this truck, you have a regular household outlet under here, so that's pretty cool too. Again, the tailgate is very light and easy to fold up. And at this point, we could walk around and see what the rear cabin of this truck looks like. Now, once you open any of the doors, it's nice to point out that the bed lighting goes on, so up there and also in the bed itself. Pretty small doors, but pretty nice use of materials back here. So you have the soft to the touch sort of vinyl material over here, and soft on the armrest as well. And you also get this pretty cool like orange red stitching throughout the vehicle on the outside and on the inside. You have your door handle, the window control, and this has the basic 6-speaker audio system, which is fine. It's not too bad. You can also upgrade to a Fender audio system if you would like. Huge cup holder and a little bit of storage. And it's actually pretty roomy back here. I'm pretty surprised at how much room there is. And there's a bunch of cargo solutions. So there's a little handle right here that you can kind of pull up. It almost takes 2 hands, so excuse that. But once it folds up, it locks into place. And you have some cargo buckets and some on either side too. And you could lock that back into place. And you could also fold down these seats in case you wanted to put cargo on top. And also the latch system for the child seats is back there. You also have a fold down armrest. So that's pretty nice to have there with a couple of cup holders. And we can hop in and see what kind of amenities and space we're working with back here. Now, on a side note, I have never been a fan of Nissan's cars, a Nissan or Infiniti. I've just never been a fan of the build quality or anything like that. It just seems to be lacking. But with this truck, when I got in it, it's just a different level. It's almost not a Nissan. You know, everything feels solid in here. The doors have a good thud to them when you close them. You know, nothing seems cheap like the Nissans that I'm used to, or what I see in Nissan at least. You know, no crazy panel gaps or anything like that. But back here you have the map pockets. You also have a couple of connections back here too. So you have a USB-C, USB, and a regular household outlet. Very small drivetrain hump down here, so you can definitely fit 3 passengers. And there's also some lighting up here as well, LED of course. I'm very surprised at the amount of features that you get for the approximately $42,000 that this truck is. And at this point, we could start checking out the front seats here. Up front, you get a little bit larger doors, a little bit easier to get in and out and whatnot. You have nice soft touch materials up here, so if you like to rest your arm up there like I do while you're driving, you'll definitely have no problem with that. You have all of your window controls. I kind of wish they were all automatic up and down, but just the driver's is lock, unlock, the window lockout, and all your mirror adjustments up there. And you get this pretty cool orange or red colored hoop up front. So you can see a couple of those in the center and up on the passenger's door as well. You have a speaker and some more storage down there. And on the left of the dash, you have a air vent and a bunch of buttons. So you have a towing mode over here, your gauge dimmer, trip reset. This button right here will turn off the audible for the blind spot warning. You can also turn on your various power outlets and things like that. In the bed, you have cargo lamps, a hill descent control, which is pretty awesome, traction control off, and your rear locking differential button there too. Down here we have some pretty cool mats. I'm definitely going to have to get a set of all-weather mats for this vehicle. We have the parking brake down there and the pedals. And you could also see under here the little release for the tilt steering wheel. Now, I first got this truck, I was really having a hard time finding where the hood release is, but it's actually right in front of your face, so it's a little bit higher than you would think. And the seats here are very nice cloth. Leather is also available as part of a package. It's pretty much the only package I didn't get with this vehicle, but you get really nice stitching and a little PRO-4X on the center. And it's got a good range of motion. There's 6-way power adjusting seats and definitely pretty comfortable, I have to say that. All right, here's the key that you get with the Nissan Frontier. And it's the key that you've been probably getting for probably the past 10 years or more on a lot of Nissan Infiniti products. But it does the job, and it's very simple, light, easy to slip in out of your pockets and everything. You have the new little Nissan emblem up top, the remote start, lock, unlock, and panic alarm. You also have a little slider on the back to slide a physical key out in case you need it. But of course, this truck has push button start, buttons right there. And at this point, we can start talking about the steering wheel. Now, it's a pretty nice leather wrap. You can see it's got a pretty cool grain to it. And it's got a bunch of functionalities. And again, I'm very surprised at the amount of features that this truck has. So we have pretty much all of your audio controls and media stuff like that over here. So we have the up and down to change your different tracks or radio stations. There's a back and forth for the screen up there. And then we have audio volume, voice commands, and Bluetooth telephone. Now over here, we have all of our adaptive cruise control settings. So it works very good. I tried it on the highway a couple times. It does a very good job of keeping distance. It's not jerky on the brakes or the throttle or anything like that, and it works very nice. Behind the steering wheel, we have a couple of stalks over here for all of your lighting and things like that, and turn signals. Then we also have the stalk over here for the wipers. Now we have a pretty cool little screen in the middle of the gauge cluster. Now we get some pretty cool red accents around the gauges, and they light up pretty nice. And a small screen in the center, which we can use these buttons to configure what we see in the display. So if we move over You can see that we have a couple of off-road menus, which is pretty awesome. Kind of gives you an inclinometer and what's going on with your four-wheel drive system. We have auxiliary gauges, that's pretty neat for off-roading, and various different trip settings, real-time and average fuel economy. And I gotta say, coming from a Jetta GLI that I daily drove, it's quite the far cry on the fuel economy, but that's definitely to be expected with a truck. And it's actually not too bad, considering I do mostly city and backroads driving. We also have a bunch of settings that we could go through here. I'll go through them quickly just so you know what they are. And that kind of goes back to your digital speed readout. There's a couple more menus in there too, but you can kind of filter them out so you don't have to keep cycling through. And I just kind of kept what I thought was important. Pretty nice upper dash. It's all soft to the touch, and you have a rubberized tray up here to keep various things. You have air vents to either side of the screen, and this is the larger 9-inch screen with actually built-in navigation. So that's pretty cool to have that. We have sort of the home menu right here, and that'll give you various things with your navigation and your Apple CarPlay right in the center. I haven't really used this screen a whole lot. I kind of just plug into Apple CarPlay and go like that. But you can configure a lot of things in this screen. You have shortcuts at the bottom over there. So you have a couple of different home screens that you can display right over here, which is really cool. Lots of things linked up with the Sirius XM as well. So we have the audio screen here with all these sources. Once you start playing things, you'll have more available. And then this is also the map for the built-in navigation, which is pretty cool. You set it and you put in your destination over here, and that's pretty awesome too. So there's not a whole lot to this screen. We can kind of go through the settings too if you'd like, really quickly, just so that you can see what is going on here. So pretty easy to use screen, not a whole lot of information in here, but it's definitely enough. You know, most people, I think, like me, just get in and plug into the Apple CarPlay. But it's nice to have a sort of setup here with the built-in nav if you lose service or anything like that. But to either side, we have the physical volume and physical tune knob, which is pretty cool. We have a quick access camera button, and then we can also change the brightness automatically on our screen. And there's just a quick back button there too. We have the hazards button, our four-wheel drive selection over here, which is pretty cool. And we also have our front defrost and mirrors defrost. And now one thing I didn't get used to quite yet is not having a rear defrost on this truck. So the rear windows do not have a defroster in them, so just keep that in mind. I know a lot of trucks don't, but it's just something that I'm coming from a sedan, something that I just didn't expect, honestly. We have a nice dual zone climate control setup over here, so both knobs, we have on and off, fan speed in the center, and where you want the air to come out, which is pretty cool. We also have the recirculating and different air over there. We have two-stage heated seats for both the driver and passenger, and I absolutely love this, the heated steering wheel. You can turn on and off the parking sensors in case you're towing a trailer or something and they're going off and bothering you. USB-C and regular USB connections. We have a little rubberized tray at the bottom, and these pretty cool grip handles. It's kind of, when you're off-road, you just kind of grab onto them for extra support. You know, as I was saying earlier, 9-speed automatic. We of course has reverse. That'll drop us down with not the best camera quality, but I'm not going to complain too much because I've really never owned a car with a 360 view camera, and that's just pretty cool right there. And if we press the camera views, we can kind of get a view of the passenger side, and it'll also bring up various other views, so like a large rear view. And then we also have neutral drive with the manual mode, so that's pretty cool. You also have the ability, like you see here, to bring up the front camera in case you're going over larger obstacles on off-road or something like that. Two pretty large cup holders and a wireless charging pad, so that's pretty nice to have too. You open this up, you have a pretty decently sized center console. I have all my wires and junk in there already, and the 12-volt power outlet. I also have pen holders up there too, which is pretty nice. Pretty basic, just manually dimming a mirror up here. And we also have another 12-volt power outlet and a lockable glove box. Again, more of my junk in there, please excuse that. But it's a pretty good amount of space in there. Passenger gets a nice padded area with some stitching. Up top, we have a pretty large sunglass holder, LED illumination, and an SOS control. Just a couple more things worth pointing out is the visors. So up here you can see once you open up, you have the lights, and they will also fold to extend light over here. So that pretty much does it for all the features of this truck. Let's get it out on the road and see how it drives. Alrighty, so driving the new Nissan Frontier. In fact, my new Nissan Frontier. Now, for those observant viewers, we did all the features of the exterior and interior when I had the truck at about 600 miles. I now have just under 2,300 miles on the truck, and I wanted to get a good feel for this vehicle before I gave you some driving impressions. So with that being said, throughout this drive, we're going to take it down to the dead end here, test out the turning circle, which I could really tell you isn't that great, but it is a truck nonetheless. Then we'll get it out onto some sort of more of a 2-lane highway. We'll see how it performs at higher speeds, 45 to 50 miles an hour. And we'll also get it up on some back roads. We'll see how the suspension handles the bumps. We'll also get a quick acceleration test as well. So, turning circle, again, not all that great, but it's to be expected in a 4-wheel drive pickup. Now, throughout the 3 months that I have owned this truck, I've had some hiccups. Now, I really do like this truck, truly. It is a great daily driver, and it does what it's supposed to do. It's got a nice, decent bed in the back. I've obviously dirtied it all up. As you can see, there's fingerprints all over my screen and dust and everything. And it does very well in the snow. Obviously, it being 4-wheel drive, and it's also got the high and low range for the 4-wheel drive and the locking rear differential. So it does very good in the snow. Really never skipped a beat unless we're on ice. So now this truck does have a lane keeping assist system. However, it's kind of a strange system. So if you go over the line, it'll kind of vibrate the steering wheel and make sort of a weird noise. So for that reason, I turned it off. It doesn't actually turn you back into your lane. Apparently we're stuck behind some Sunday drivers, but since I have been driving this car for the past 2,300 miles, I can tell you that it's a decently quiet interior, and it's also a very solid truck. You definitely feel that it's a full frame, and it's a pretty rigid feeling truck. But the suspension, the Bilstein shocks in this truck do a really good job of soaking up all of the imperfections in the road. So it's not just your normal sort of rough and tough off-roady ride. It's also a pretty comfortable truck to drive daily. And that's really, I think, a good idea, because a lot of people who buy these trucks, myself included, we're not going to be taking them off-road on trails every single day. What we're mainly buying them for is to get us to work and back and other places as well. So coming to this light here, we're going to make a right onto this back road. There's usually not a whole lot of traffic, and that's a good spot to test out the acceleration. So as I understand, this actually has the most powerful engine of all of the smaller trucks on sale nowadays. So what we're going to do is we're just going to leave it in automatic, and we'll give this guy some room in the Kia Sedona. We'll get it up to about 25. We'll mash the throttle and see how quick we get up to 60. So, not all that fast in terms of vehicles in general, but a pretty quick mid-size pickup. You can definitely feel that there's a pretty good amount of power in this truck. The 9-speed transmission does a pretty good job. It's a little bit of a slush box, meaning that sometimes it's a little bit slow on the upshifts, downshifts, things like that. And one of the problems I had with this truck is actually this morning when I started it up to go to work today. I had a couple of transmission lights on the dashboard. So I had the little gear light on that side and the automatic transmission check light on this side, and it also warned me to use the parking brake at all times. And then so I figured we'll put it in drive and see what happens. It didn't have a drive gear, so that was interesting. What happened eventually is I shut the truck off, let it do a recycle, or a cycle I should say, and I turned the truck back on, started it up, and everything was fine. So I did wind up making an appointment at the Nissan dealer I bought this, and they said they would gladly be able to check it out, and hopefully they could replicate the problem and find a fix for that. But back to sort of the driving experience. It's kind of an old school, I shouldn't really say old school, but for me at least, an old school driving experience for this truck. So it's still a full frame truck. It still has hydraulic steering, which gives a pretty good weight to it. It definitely lightens up while you're on the road, but in the parking lots you could feel it. It's pretty heavy steering. But right about now we're going to be getting to the sort of more bumpy section of the road. I should say the most bumpiest section of the road. And smaller, I think 17-inch wheels on this truck do definitely aid to the comfort and the riding experience of this truck. Just so it's not so bumpy over these pretty ugly holes in the road. So yeah, really not bad at all. It's definitely not a smooth ride by any means, but it is a pretty good ride for a truck. I had to say that. Kind of be quiet for a couple of seconds here so that you can hear the wind road noise. Now, one other thing I wanted to touch on while we're taking a drive here is these seats. Now, I'm not sure if these are Nissan zero gravity seats or not. I'm pretty sure they are, but just vastly comfortable. I mean, I've taken a few longer trips, I'd say between an hour, 2 hours trips, and no problems at all. I mean, there's really not a whole lot of adjustability to these seats. It's kind of back and forth, up and down, and the backrest goes back and forth. So there's no lumbar adjustment. There's no really thigh lifter or extension or anything like that. But it is a pretty comfortable seat for that matter. I really don't have any problems with this truck as far as comfort goes. Now, touching on the same subject of seats, I used to daily drive a 2019 Volkswagen GLI. And you're saying, yeah, it's quite the difference from this truck. It is. It definitely is, especially in the fuel cost. But one thing I noticed on that car is the comfort just wasn't there on the seats. It was maybe more comfortable in the suspension side, but I always had a problem with those seats if I was in the car for longer than an hour. And my lower back just started aching. But this truck just seems to get it right with the seats. So that's a good case in point for this truck. Alrighty, so coming back to our sort of filming location, what are my wrap-up thoughts on sort of the ownership experience on this truck for the first 2,300 miles? So far, it's been quite the experience. I love the fact that if I'm in the snow or anything like that, I could simply just turn the knob like I just did, because I was going up pretty steep hill here and there was ice and snow. Just pop it in neutral, turn the knob, and you're away. That's something I was never able to do in any of the other cars that I've ever owned, so that's a huge plus for me. But as far as the little hiccups that this truck has had, with that aside, this has been a very good vehicle for me. It's great on fuel economy. Maybe isn't the best. I could show you what I've been getting in the past 2,300 miles. It's 17.4 miles a gallon, which, to be honest, sucks, and it's not what I'm used to. But that is mostly back roads or city driving, to be fair. I'm only on the highway for maybe 5 minutes every day, so that really is just these sort of back roads and city driving, stop and go, things like that. So that being considered, I guess it's not all that bad. As you can see, my average speed is only 21 miles an hour, so that kind of explains the low fuel economy. And if you guys are still watching in the video, feel free to leave me a comment or anything. If you guys have one of these, let me know if you're having any problems with it, how your ownership experience is going, because I'd love to hear from you guys. And also, if you like this video, make sure to comment, like, subscribe, do whatever you have to do, because there are plenty more videos to come in the future. Thanks for watching.